Sir, what's your full name?
What?
What's your full name?
Charles Marion. M-C-P-H-E-R-S-O-N. Most people put a F and an A in there, but it's not there.
Okay.
I tell them my name there.
Yeah. This is
Put
July.
that F and A, fear, in there.
July 26th, 1988. My name is Joe Todd, and this is an interview with Charles Marion McPherson in Frederick, Oklahoma. So, where were you born?
What?
Where were you born?
I was born in Rodley, Texas, Johnson County, 17th day of August, 1889. And I was born in a rock house, and I've got a picture here of it, and it's still standing.
Who was your father?
What?
Who was your father?
George J.M. McPherson.
Okay. And your mother?
She was a Glen, Francis Fairley. And my father was born in Arkansas, and my mother was born there in Parker County, Texas. And my dad, her folks moved there in '54, and my dad's folks moved out in Parker County, and he was settled in Hood County, close to Granbury. He was a doctor, a frontier doctor. And the Indians found out about him being a medicine man. The chief gave orders that he must not be bothered. He's a good man, and leave him alone.
What Indians were they?
How?
What Indians were they? What was the Indians? What was the chief's name? Do you know?
I don't remember. And my mother lived close to Corner Parker's folks there in Parker County, about a mile, I believe, she said. She saw Cynthia Ann one time. And they knew, the family didn't visit together, but they knew one another.
Were either one of your grandfathers?
What?
Was your father in the Civil War? You know, the war between the states?
Oh, my grandfather?
Yeah.
Sebert Ray. S-E-B-E-R-T. Ray, doctor.
Do you have any stories about him in the war?
Well, I knew him as a cripple. A horse fell, he's a doctor and a horse, and he got it up, and it fell on him and broke his hip. And he begged, he lay there for several hours before anybody found him. And he begged them to shoot him. He said, "I'll never be any good anyhow. I'd like this kid to shoot me." They wouldn't do it. Well, he got over it, but he'd get around using one crutch. But he'd retired from doctoring then, and so he'd living with his youngest son, and Creed, and he'd go out with them, his Uncle Creed's boys and girls, hoeing, and he'd hoe with them. Here.
How long did you live in Texas?
Well, I left there. I was We left first day of November. I was 11 in August before we left. And I was 11 years old when we arrived over at Comanche. 8th day of November, 1900.
Why did the family move to Oklahoma Territory?
Yeah, there's 5 or 6 together. We kind of had a wagon train, small one.
Do you remember the trip? Do you remember the trip in that wagon train?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, we could only make about 20 miles a day. That's pretty slow now, you know. Took us 8 days. It's about 160 miles. Took us 8 days. We got over to Comanche and we had stopped at one of our old neighbors down in Texas, and we stopped at his place. And next morning we got up with snow about that deep. We thought we was going under the Arctic. Well, it's all gone by noon.
Tell me about fording rivers in the wagons. How do you ford rivers in the wagons?
Well, we crossed on a ferry. We $1 a wagon. I believe it was $1. And well, some of them didn't want to pay it. They wanted to cross, and the boat ferryman told her, said, "Now listen," said, "there's a mile crossing, a mile up the river. There's a deep Red River. But it's dangerous." He said, "If you hit a quicksand bed, you'll get lost. You'll lose your wagon and team and everything. Maybe some of your lives." And said, "I think it'd be a lot cheaper to just let me ferry you across." He said, so we, one wagon at a time.
Where was the ferry?
It's south of Waurika. There's a crossing there.
Who ran the ferry, do you know?
How?
What was the man's name?
No, I never knew his name. I read about him about 50 or 60 years after that, and he told how many years he was on it. But I don't remember the name.
When you were on the trip, where did you sleep at night?
On the ground.
On the ground? What about food?
What?
What type of food did your mother fix on the trip?
We cooked our own food, you know, a campfire. That's where I learned my first cooking. In the summer before we left there, I was a man by the name of Green had a hay baler. There's lots of finest grass in the world around in Johnson County. And he baled it and sold it for hay, you know. So he asked Dad about letting me drive his team. All I'd do is walk along behind them. They had a big lever on it about, I guess, 10, 12 feet long. The team was hooked to the end of that, and that worked the plunger to press the hay into a block. So I was getting along, wasn't paying much attention to it, and I was just walking a little too close to the driver, and so I just as I stepped over the plunger, the team backed up with that lever, caught me right along there. And there's a boy, big, heavy-set, active guy. He was feeding the baler trunk, and he saw it, and he run and pushed that for me to get out. So after along about 11 o'clock, Mr. Green said, "Charlie, can you cook some potatoes?" I said, "Mr. Green, I never cooked anything." Well, he said, I'll show you how, and I got to leave and said, I want you to peel so many potatoes and cut them up into dice. He showed me how to do that. So I had a great big old skillet and campfire. And when he got back, while dinner time, I had them potatoes done.
How many wagons did you bring?
How?
How many wagons did the family bring to the territory?
On a trip?
Yeah.
I think it was 5 or 6.
5.
We had 2, and now somebody else had 2. I believe it was 5 wagons or 6. I've forgotten now just how many.
Did you drive a wagon?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you say...
No, I just rode in it. I didn't drive
okay. Your father drove a wagon. Who drove the other wagon?
Yeah.
Who drove the other wagon?
How?
Who drove the second wagon?
Well, my brother a little older than I was. He drove part of the time, and I think maybe my mother drove part of the time.
Okay.
And,
how many brothers and sisters did you have?
Well, I had 2 sisters that died. One was a baby, was older, the second child, and the first one was a girl named Florence, and she took dropsy, and we was living in this rock house where I was born, and she died there. I wasn't quite 4, but I remember everything. Mm-hmm. And so that was in 93. She died in April or May. May, I guess it was. Mm-hmm. Go to the hallway there, and she was in that. They'd had her in a rocker, and they'd pull that rocker out and to this airway. And
would you tell me again why the family came to... Would you tell me again why the family came to Oklahoma Territory?
Oh. Well, why?
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess the main reason was that this land was to be opened up for settlement in 1901. So we was rented a farm south of Comanche, about 2 miles from Johnny Wilson. He had a big ranch there, and there's several houses on it and cattle. So the drawing was in April, I believe, and then the registering was in April, and then on the 6th day of August was when they called the names of the lucky people that owned this land.
Did your father?
No, he didn't get one, or my sister. So, but he bought her a linksman down there in Hackberry Flat. Mm-hmm. And warm in there. Okay. So that Hackberry Flat was a big bowl. There's an opening for water to go into it. No outlet, just ridge plumb around it. Well, there's a natural ditch come from the north and comes through our place. And so when we got a lot of rain, that flat be covered with water from that deep up there.
Where is Hackberry Flats?
It's about 8 miles, close to 10 miles out southeast town.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just drowned crops out, you know, water standing, no way for it to get out, just dried up. So we got thinking of talking about wondering if we could get permission from the Interior Department to cut a ditch out to drain that. So somebody wrote to Secretary of Interior, and he wrote back and sent back papers to get Corner Parker to sign it. And he said, now it's perfectly all right with the Interior Department. But said Corner Parker owns all that land, and it's up to him. And he said, I'll enclose papers for him to sign to give you permission. I think he will. So my dad and 2 others, and we had a cowboy friend. He'd worked on Wagner Ranch. He'd rode on a place there close. And then my brother done his plowing for me. He didn't like to ride a plow. Wouldn't walk and plow. So they went to see Corner Parker and went up to Cash in his headquarters there. And so the cowboy went along as an interpreter. And they started introducing he knew Corner. Corner said, if you don't mind, Mr. Cunningham, I'd like for English to be spoken. I speak as good English as any of you. So let's speak English. And he said, ask my dad and the other men if they spoke them. I said, oh no. Well, no. He said, that does it. He said, we will speak English all together. No comments. And so he read the paper. And he said, now there's one question I want to ask. He said, I believe in being fair to everybody concerned. And he said, one day this big pasture will be open to white people settlement. That I see it coming. And he said, now, when you're cutting this ditch, what would it drain into? They said, into a dry creek. And well, now, how about below? And I said, where does that little dry creek enter into eat bread? And well, now, he said, the people below there, would that hurt them? No. They said it'd go right directly to deep red. Well, he said, in case it don't hurt anybody below there, well, I'll sign the paper. So he signed it, and they went to work, and then donation work. I worked on it myself. I slipped. My dad, he'd been donating, and so he had to leave for something, and I had some business to him too, and they wanted me to take mules and go over and do a slip work. They run away with me going over there. Run up right up where he'd stop every day. Just stop like that, and men run out. Oh, I said, get out of the way, they go. I worked all day.
How long did you work there?
Huh?
How long did you work on that project?
Well, I just worked 2 days, I believe it was. And then it started raining. Oh, it poured down. And everybody got busy then, and had to stop. But we had got it down to where when the frat got full, well, it'd drain out a little. So in 1906, my dad sold out, and we moved to Frederick, and then he bought a place out southwest of town, and farmed out there. And 7 and 8 was 2 wettest years I've ever seen this, since I've been in Oklahoma. And I didn't go down there, but I heard them talking about it. That got deeper than they ever had, and done more damage. So somebody suggested that maybe they could get a barge down there and flush it out. So they had to talk to an engineer about it, and he knew of a outfit that had one of these dredge barges, and they got them down there, and they floated and dug that out, finished, drained it out, so it's drained good now. Fine land down there.
How big is that cut that you made? How big is that cut that you worked on?
Well, it's pretty deep. When I worked on it, it must have been around 30 feet, something like that. And it's cut wide enough that we done a lot of old slip work there. A long time before it began to rain.
Whenever you first moved up here, what type of house did you live in? When you first moved here in 1900, what type of house did you live in?
Well, we had to be out here the 1st of July, 1902, or else somebody could claim it. And so we came the 1st day of July, and we built a one room, and that showed we meant business. And so we got that done. We went back home, and so along about 1st November, Dad and I brought 2 wagon loads of corn out there, and we had to dump one load on the ground to get haul lumber to build a bin to put barn to put that in, and then also to buy lumber to build to another room. So not before we left got through and had ready to leave. Rained all night and rained all day, and we got over the water across the East Cache there, and it rained nearly all night, and our bedding was just damp and slow. We got up and eating breakfast, and just as we got the team harnessed up, we thought we'd go on, and the cowboy rode up and said, "Where y'all going?" Told him, Comanche. He said, "For the love of Mike, get back across there." Said, "There's a big beaver over there, it's 3 miles wide. You'd never make it." So he said, "Hurry, hurry." Said, "That creek's rising now." So we jumped in the wagon and got across it. And when just as I got down about the center of it, water began to kind of get her into the bed of the wagon. Well, we made it. So then we had to go south. There's a bridge down at Borica, and we crossed down. And that was quite a bit out of the way. That took us over a day to make it down there and then back to Comanche. And the first day of January then, we was back out here, but we established our residence the 1st of July.
What type of crops did you raise in the farm?
Well, we planted cotton, corn, and cane. We had to find us cane to make syrup out of, you ever saw. There's an old man who lived on the pasture line by the name of Johnson, had a syrup, made syrup out of cane. He had a press to get the juice, and then they boiled it on. So we took our cane up there, and he used to do that on the hays. And so he said after that, he said for some reason, he didn't know why he did it, but he put his half of our sorghum back to one side and kept it. So a week or so we had the honey. We eat on that for about 10 days, I guess. First thing you know, I began to bite our tongue, and boy, it just mind your peel your tongue. We couldn't eat it. So he went up and talked to Mr. Johnson about it, and he said, well, I'll rerun it. And he rerun it, and it's just the same thing. There's alkali in that land down there, and we didn't know it. It went into that can. So then, rocked along to 1905. Teddy Roosevelt come down here to go on a whoop on with Jack Abernathy, John Jack Abernathy. And we brought in our last bale of cotton that day, the 5th day of April, 1905. And we got to see him, and he made his speech. And they got on their horse and went over Panther Springs, about 10 miles east on Deep Red, and camped there. And Abernathy was in Rough Riders with him in Cuba. And so he'd just catch them barehanded, jump off his horse on them. And he had quite a name about that. And Roosevelt once said, done, he done so. Well, a boy, a neighbor boy and I, we rode together quite a bit. So he was a great hand to go over into the big pasture and hunt. And so he decided he'd go over to Roosevelt's camp. He got about a half a mile, and his soldier stopped him. I said, boy, where are you going? Oh, he said, I'll just run. I said, why are you doing that gun? Oh, he said, I carry that with me all the time. I said, I shoot rattlesnakes sometimes. And I said, I'll shoot rabbits. And, well, he said, what are you doing over here? And, well, he said, I just wondered if I could get to the camp. I said, I'd lay my gun down. No, he said, you can't. He said, you don't mean any harm. Oh, no. He said, I don't mean any harm. Well, he said, I can't let you go on by. But he said, anything you want to know? He said, how long you want to be here? He said, we're leaving here tomorrow. He said, we'll be in Frederick sundown tomorrow. So he come over to me and told me about it. So we rode up to Frederick. He's supposed to have eaten supper with Wessel. He'd been in the Rough Riders. He's a newspaper man. And so they come a riding in, and he was supposed to make a speech and then eat supper. And he just rode right down Main Street to the depot, and we was running as hard as we could go. See him get off his horse, and rode up and got off just like an old cowhand, you know. And he's a good rider. And went in, and a few minutes, about 5 minutes, he come out the back door and waved at us, and no train started on.
Tell me about Quanah Parker.
Well, I saw him last time, and he was a fine-looking man. He's half white and half Indian, you know. When he found out my dad, my mother had lived close to his mother, he got very interested in my dad and told him, he said, "I'd like to have a long talk with you sometime." And how come him to get started on it? He asked Dad, he said, "Are you from Texas?" Dad said, "Yes." "Well," he said, "I was born in Texas." And so he talked about quite a bit about it. And I first saw him in Comanche, and he was there for a great set of Roosevelt. He was on the stand, had on his feathers from head to drug the ground behind. He made a little talk, not much. He didn't say very much.
What kind of man was he, Quanah Parker? What kind of man was he?
Oh, he's a fine-looking guy. He's 6 feet, I guess. Mm-hmm. Square shouldered. He didn't look like an Indian at all.
Whenever you were talking to him, or how did he act? How did he act whenever you talked to him when you met him?
Oh, I never met him. My dad
You
did.
didn't?
But I never did meet him.
Yeah. What about Geronimo? What about Geronimo?
Oh, I just saw him walking along there, going to his cell. And he was trusty, you know. I told you about him, didn't I?
No.
Oh.
No, it was me.
Well, when they first captured him, well, he was wilder than a buck, you know. And so he was in that, just a rock cell for, I think, 2 or 3 years. And finally he escaped somehow. And they went after him. But he'd gone nearly a year. They captured him, brought him back. So I don't know how long it was to take after that, but they said that he told the head man of the army there at Fort that if you'll let me out, give me a chance to get out and get fresh air and walk, that I need exercise. Well, he said, would you, and I'll never run away again. And I let him out. So he was down around the headquarters one day, and several young officer soldiers rode up, tied their horses to the rack, went on in. He just walked over and untied one of them, got on him, and was riding away, and one of those soldiers happened to look around and saw him leaving, told the head officer, Geronimo's escaping. Said, never mind, he'll come back. Oh, well, let's go get him. No. And they said in 6 months, he rode up, tied the horse right where he'd untied him. Same horse, same saddle and everything.
Where'd he go?
No, they never knew where he wouldn't tell.
Mm-hmm.
That always legend with me. I didn't know about it. I just heard them talking about it. That's historical part of it, I guess.
Do you remember the day when they read the names?
No, I don't know the dates on that at all.
But do you remember that day? What happened when they were reading all the names of the people that got the claims?
Oh. Well,
That was August 6th, wasn't it?
we were camped out on Medicine Creek, and my father and sister went down to the drawing, and they came back as soon as the drawing was over with.
Did you go down with them?
No, I didn't go. I was busy watching the fort. It was just across the creek.
What did the fort look like in those years?
Huh?
What did the fort look like in those years?
Well, about all I remember, they called it, I don't know, just a long streak of rock, one-way route, and for the prisoners. And I didn't go up on the fort ground at all. Wasn't allowed to, you know. And that's, I don't remember much about the fort. I see them riding horses around and all that, but I couldn't tell anything about it.
In those years, what chores did you do in the farm?
Huh?
What chores did you do in the farm in those years? You know, what work did you do in the farm?
Oh, one half back.
Yeah.
Dad sold it to a man from Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Then he built a house here in town. He didn't like it, so we bought a place out southwest town, moved back to the farm.
Mm-hmm. Did you have a walking plow or a sulky plow? Did you have a walking plow or a sulky plow on the farm?
Well, a sod plow.
Mm-hmm.
Broke it out. I was telling you about using, you know.
Tell me about that again.
It's just a flat piece of steel that made the point, the cutting point. About, I guess about that wide, about 8 inches wide and 12 inches long, just cut 12 inches. And there's rods, 5 or 6 rods, I don't remember. They run down there to this point, and this sod, when it hit these rods, it'd turn over. I'd turn the grass down, and then we had to cut that up to where we could plant. And the first planter we used, one of my neighbors to the east of us had come from northern Oklahoma. He's a blacksmith, and he had made that's what they call a sod planter. He built it himself, and out of wood, and it had like that, you know, the wheel it turned, and it opened up this planter, and so he loaned us that to plant our first crop with.
What was your first crop?
Well, we had some cotton and some corn, and I don't think we planted any maize that year. I think maize come in later on.
How many pounds could you pick in one day? How many pounds could you pick in one day? Cotton.
Oh, we could plow about 2 acres.
2 acres a day? Is that with a walking plow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we had to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And walk all day long on that. And well, we were used to it, didn't bother, you know. Oh, we got $1 an acre, and we'd plow about 2 acres and a half a day out of So it took a long time to get over very much dry.
How many wagons did you have in the farm?
Well, we just had 2.
You know what brand they were?
What?
What brand were they?
Wagon?
Yeah. Are they Studebaker or Springfield?
Oh, I believe we had one Studebaker, and I don't remember the other.
Could
I
you
guess it's old and known and that.
could you tell me what work you had to do on those wagons? You had like greasy axles, and what else did you have to do?
Oh, that was what?
Oh, you had to grease the axles.
Yeah.
And what else did you have to do on the wagons?
Well, really, that's about all. And to keep your tires. If you get too dry, it's hard to come off.
How do you keep it tight?
Huh?
How do you keep that iron tight?
Yeah, they'd put on red hot and they'd shrink down to pour water over it, and shrink. And that's how it stayed on.
How do you grease the axles?
Well, we call it axle grease. It's a black gummy stuff. It lasts a long time.
But how'd you grease the axles though?
Huh?
How'd you grease the axles? What'd you do?
Oh, you had to have a paddle or something to smear it on. Try to get it all smeared all around,
Where would you smear it?
Yeah.
Where?
Huh?
Where would you put the axle grease?
On the wheels on an axle. They made a sleeve to go over a wood cross piece. And then that sleeve fit the hub. And if it doesn't grate it, it's squeaky, you hear 'em.
How'd you get the grease in that sleeve?
Well, you had to take a nut off and pull a whole wheel out as long as it didn't drop the axle, you're all right. If it jerked off too quick over here, you had trouble. But we pull it out, well, hub's about that long, and to get all that grease, we'd hold it out sort of like that and put the hole on, and push it up, put the nut back on. You got a big nut about that big around.
How'd you take the nut off?
Huh?
How'd you take that nut off?
There's a pin about that long, and to hold the double tree onto the tongue is a latch come over from here, and then down here, well, I dropped the pin down through that, and it had a wrench on it, just sort of like that, square, The nut had a square rail about that, and that's how they put them on.
What type of wood was the axle made of?
I just don't know. That's good stuff.
And what type of bed did you have on the wagon? What type of bed did you have on the wagon?
I built a box out of planks, and put all the fixings where I put the board in. I put a sheet over the board and end gates, and I had the sideboards. If you take them sideboards off, you just had a bed about that flat. And I put sideboards on it. It looked about 28 inches deep, I think. Maybe 30.
How much did a new wagon cost?
I believe around $75.
Did that include the wagon sheet?
Huh?
Did that include the wagon sheet and the bows?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Them old bows, they stayed in one shape, you know. And put them on the sheet and you got a covered wagon.
Where'd you buy your wagon?
I guess Dad bought them in Texas.
In Texas?
Yeah.
Do you know who sold the wagons in Frederick?
We had a brand new wagon, big pair of mules. He traded for this relinquishment down there at $100.
Yeah.
That's what the place cost.
Who sold wagons in Frederick? Do you know?
Huh?
Who sold wagons in Frederick?
Oh, yeah.
Who did? Do you know? No. Do you know the man's name that sold wagons here?
Oh. Well, Carl Fisher is one of them. Mm-hmm. And Frederick Hardware, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell me what Frederick looked like when you first came here?
Well, there wasn't any paving, you know, in the boardwalks. And the first houses, business houses, were all wood, you know. Well, they had several fires and they started building bricks. And they had two or three big fires. And one man we knew real well, or my dad did. He had a hardware. I don't think he sold wagons, or I think he just had a hardware. But he burned out, and he told Dad it broke him.
What year was that?
About 1907, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember his name?
No. Yeah, Harris, I believe.
Harris. Mm-hmm. Ever build a sod house? Ever build a sod house?
No.
No?
No, we didn't have a sod house. We dug a cellar down Hackberry Flat, and one night come up a storm, we went to the cellar. It was just pouring down rain. And I happened to look down, and I said, well, there's water running. Before we got out of there, it was about that deep. It just come in from all sides in the bottom, too. So that's the end of our cellar in Hackberry Flat.
Was there a wagon yard in Frederick? Was there a wagon yard here in Frederick?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's. I think one time it was free. You drive in, and they'd take care of your horse and feed him, and you get ready to go home while they'd hook it up to your buggy. And
Could you spend the night in a wagon yard?
no, well, I think some of them could camp.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I never did. But I think there's one yard here that allowed them to build a campfire out in the center.
Mm-hmm. Would you tell me again what Frederick looked like? What do the buildings look like?
Just common old plank building, lumber, you know. And they began to build brick, and when they done fire, they put them back in brick.
Who was Frederick named after? Who was Frederick named after?
Oh, conductor of the Frisco Railroad train. I had a son, and his name was Frederick. And I don't know how come, but he told officials here that if his name, it was called Gosnell to start with, because it was started on a man, a Baptist preacher by the name of Gosnell. So they got it changed to Frederick, and he told them, he said, I'll see that you get a flagpole put up. Well, I guess it's 40 years before he got that flagpole. And they finally found his son, but he was a sick man when they found him, and he was named after him. And I don't remember now what year that was or anything about it. And there wasn't much on remembering dates.
Yeah. Do you remember the day Oklahoma became a state?
Yeah.
Tell me about that day.
Well, I was at school here, and when they announced it, we had a big yell, you know, everybody happy.
Was there a big celebration?
That was 1907.
Was there a big celebration here?
Well, not much, I don't think.
How did the townspeople celebrate? What did the townspeople do to celebrate?
Well, not much of anything, just put on sale. Excuse me. Three. Don't remember just what, whether the 4th of July or what, but they got Corner Parker to bring his tribe over. They spent the day here.
How'd you celebrate July 4th?
Huh?
How did you celebrate July 4th?
Oh, I've never done much of anything.
Where did you start to school?
What?
Where did you start to school?
I started school in Ashton, Texas, as close to Granbury.
Tell me about that school.
Well, my main recollection was I took my first chew of tobacco that day.
What happened?
There was a family there, there was a large family of them, and they had a boy my age with in the same class. And the family had scurvy. They didn't know enough to eat onions to keep it down. The doctor prescribed tobacco to chew it. Sam chewed tobacco. So he went out on the school ground at noon, and Sam took the chew tobacco. He didn't take a very big chew. One of the grown boys, there's 4 or 5 of them watching. One of them walked up and said, Sam, how about giving me a chew? Sam, sure, help yourself. And I just passed it around, 4 or 5 of them. I handed him to him. He started putting it. I said, Sam, how about me? I saw him grown boy, a little wink at one another. So Sam said, now, Charlie, don't you swallow that. It'll make you sick. I said, okay. So about that time, the bell rang. Come in. Me and Sam sat in the same desk, and I sat down there, and I had my cap there on my desk, and I said, Sam, I'm getting sick. He said, throw your cap out the window and tell the teacher you want to go get it. So I pitched it out and I held it up in my hand. Charlie, what is it? Oh, I dropped my cap out. Yes, said I. I think, Charlie, you better get home. Well, I was sick. Oh, I vomited and vomited, and you got home. My mother, our youngest sister, was born there. She was about 2 or 3 days old. And there's a couple of women there with her visiting. And we had a fireplace, a fire. And so I told my mother, I said, I'm hungry. Well, she said, go get you an egg and roast it. And the rasher. I did. And so I didn't notice a coal would roll away from a rock earth, you know. And I was knelt down and knelt right down on that coal part. This meal. Well, I thought that was paid me for my sin. I thought that was what caused it. So it's a long, long time before I took it to the chewing. My dad chewed tobacco. He started out as a cowhand on the ranch, 16 years old. And so he was riding with his partner was an old cowhand, and so they was riding the range, and Dad got thirsty, and he said, call this man a name, I don't remember now what it was. He said, I'm thirsty. He said, how soon can we get water? And well, he said, it'll be several hours yet. Well, he said, I'm sorry, my mouth's dry. He said, you chew tobacco? No, I never have. Oh, no, he said, oh, let me tell you. He said, I took a chew, and he said, now you bite off a little, not very much. And so you just hold it in your mouth and chew it a little bit and spit. He said, don't swallow none of that. And said, that'll sort your saliva. Then after a while, after you get it all spit out, well, then your saliva will keep you from getting too dry. So he said that's how he told him. He said, now, you'll have to learn, if you're going to make a cowhand, you'll have to learn to chew tobacco. So that's how he started chewing tobacco. And he worked on that range, and the man decided that he'd move into the Big Bend country with his cattle and horses. And he asked Dad if he could. He said, how old are you, Joe? He said, I'm 16. He said, do you think you can make a trip? Oh, yeah. I said, I can do anything anybody else can. Well, he said, I want volunteers to go with me. And he said, when we get there, and I'll build a log cabin. Then I'll furnish you boys. I only want 2 men to stay with me, and I want volunteers. And Dad started telling me, no, Joe, you're too young. He said, you must go back home. He furnished them a wagon and team and to haul their saddles in, and they kept his horses. And so he said it's about a year or 2 years, well, this man rode in there one day, a horse and saddle all he had. Well, I had a son-in-law working with the Texas Oil Company, and they had him stationed in Fort Stockton. So he wanted me to come down there and we'd go deer hunting, and I did. And while I was there, the Mexicans and the U.S. had a picnic down the river. And, I wanted to see that river, and I walked down there. It wasn't very far. There's a crossing there in shallow water. And then I saw this old log cabin that was built right on the bank. And Dad had told me about it, the building. And back in though, it had caved in. That'd been a long time. But I know it's the same building. I told him about it ever, and yeah, he said, that must have been.
Was your father on the cattle drives?
How?
Was your father on
he
the...
went on Chisholm Trail twice.
He did?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, he never would talk much about it. He told me a few things that happened. I don't know, I guess it was his last trip that this big thing happened. Storm come up, lightning and rain and thunder, and the cattle stampeded. And he said, well, we jumped on our horses, tried to stop them. It was dark only when the lightning, and we couldn't see nothing only when the lightning. And he said, you see the lightning trail all over them horns of them cattle, and travel from one to another. And he said, I was just pouring down rain, and he said, I was after some cattle. I could hear them more than I could see them. And he said, I don't know why we were riding and such. He said, all at once my horse stopped just like that and almost threw me over. And he said, I couldn't see any cattle. And he said, they went back to camp. And next morning, they had to start rounding them up. And he told the boss what happened, the trail boss. And he said, do you think you can find that? He said, I believe I can. I believe there's a canyon there. He said, my horse like to throw me over. If I had, I'd have been down there. So he said, well, take me, I want to see that. He said, you mean the cattle just disappeared? He said, that's right. And he said, they found it and found where his horse stopped. And the ground was wet, you know, and he said that the horse's hoof went down about that deep when they stopped. And he said there's 50-some out of the cattle laying down there dead. Necks broke. Said about 50-foot cliff. And when they hit the bottom, it just broke their neck. Well, anyhow, when they got back home, he said he decided that he didn't want no more cattle driving, so he asked my mother if she'd marry him, and she told him yes. So he went to Grandpa Glenn and said, Mr. Glenn, he said, I'll come to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage. Well, now, he said, what have you got? He was an Englishman. Dad said, well, I've got good health, I'm strong. Well, how are you going to make a living? Well, he said, if anybody can make a living, I can make it. Well, he said, I'll just tell you right now, young man, You just get out of here and don't you come back. Well, if that's the way you look at it, okay. I said, I'll tell you one thing, Mr. Glenn. We're going to marry, regardless of what you say or do. So, her older brother sympathized with her, and he was going with a cousin of my dad's. And they'd all riding around at a camp meeting on the Brothers River. And they rode up there and stopped on somebody went out and asked what they want. And Dad said, preacher in there? Yes. Tell him to come out here, we want to get married. They married horseback.
What year were they married?
72.
72.
Yeah, I believe.
In Texas?
Yeah. So, the old man, he didn't want Pa to come around. Mother goes there, her mother. So, Grandpa was in Shreveport on some kind of business, and he saw a set of silver spoons, teaspoons, and he bought them, brought them home, and told our grandma, said, first time Pearlie come and give her your spoon, I'm forgiving her. I've got 3 of the spoons, I think.
Tell me about the hanging.
Tell
me about the hanging. When they hung the man, was it your first? Was it the first hanging you saw? When they hung the man? So was it?
Ask you, I'm not sure if you saw someone hanging.
I can't quite get that.
Did you see a man hung? No, when they hung a man?
Oh, well, when they hung cattle thieves, horse thieves.
Yeah.
They didn't hang them, I don't think, for cattle, but they hung them for horse thieves. He never would tell me. One time, an old man stopped me down there on the street and said, young fella, he said, I don't know, I think I know who you are, but he said, well, I said, who do you think I am? Well, he said, aren't you kin to Joe McPherson? Well, yeah, he said, he's my father. He said, that's what I thought. He said, you walk just exactly like him. You look like him. I said, where'd you know him? He said, I knew him down in Texas. He said, I remember seeing him at a hanging one time. He said, didn't he ever tell you about it? No, he didn't. Well, he said, we hung a horse thief. But he never told it.
He didn't.
So I told him what this man said. I said, he didn't know what he was talking about. He wouldn't make any comments on it at all. But everybody's for it, you know. And I talked to a man, a neighbor of mine out here. He's from Kansas. He told me that he helped hang a horse thief in Kansas. And he said, we stopped it. I said, well, how'd you feel about it? And, well, he said, thief has no business living if he's going to be a thief. And said, we had been loading horses, and we finally got the goods on him, and we hung him. And said, that stopped that thief in there in Kansas.
On your farm here, did you have a drilled well or a dug well?
How?
Did you have a drilled well or a dug well on your farm?
Oh, just dug 'em.
How deep?
All around, I think there in the flat, around 15, 20 feet. I mentioned about a ditch. We dug pretty close to the bank of that first well. I think about 12, 15 feet. Got good soft water. And that lasted about a year, I guess. Salt got it. We went around the bend and dug another one. And there stayed there as long as we was there. We got water from it. Still good.
Tell me about your schools in Oklahoma.
Well, our first school in Hackberry Flat started in 1st of January 1903. A neighbor woman from Kansas, she had taught some school, and they earned her $30 a month. And there was only 90-some students for that little one-room school.
How'd she handle all of them?
There's grown boys and grown girls going to school. And she had 2 or 3 of them she'd call on the whole classes. That's how she got by. And we had books. Where we was from was a book. Well, we was from Comanche, and we had Oklahoma Territory school books. And I didn't have a history. And this woman told me, said, you must have a history of some kind. She said, I'll tell you. She said, you go over to Miss Nay. Said, I knew them in Kansas. Said, she had a Kansas history. Said, you'll go over and she'll loan it to you. So I went and told her the situation. Why, sure, she said, I'll let you have my history. So I studied Kansas history.
What was her name?
The teacher,
Mm-hmm.
Searle.
Hmm?
Searle, S-E-A-R-L-E.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman on the book was Nay, N-A-Y, Nay. And I think she had been a teacher.
Where was the first cemetery around here?
That was in the beginning of 1903. They called a meeting, the neighborhood, to talk about a cemetery. So they set a date, and they had a crowd there. Nearly all the farmers around are there. And I was curious. I went down there. We only lived a quarter of a mile from the schoolhouse. And so they brought it up. Somebody made a talk about it. They thought they ought to have a cemetery. And a man by the name of John Emenharder got up and he said, now listen, people. He said, we do not need a cemetery. Nobody dead. Why would we want it? We're all healthy. He made his talk and sat down, and my dad got up and asked if he could make a few remarks. I said, yeah. He said, Mr. Emenharder, I'd like to address you as a neighbor and friend. We don't know who nor when somebody will die and we'll need a cemetery, won't we? Well, now that's just wait till it happens. Well, he said, what would we do as one person? If they died, where would we bury them? We'd have to bury them quick. Well, he said, I don't believe in it, and he just thought it. Well, they bought an acre or 2 acres, I forget which, from a bachelor there on a place for a cemetery. They laid it off and had it lotted and all. And his wife and daughter, him and I was his wife and daughter and son. He's the boy that rode with me. They went down on the Red River to pick plums and grapes. And you know, I said he carried his gun with him everywhere he went. Well, he took his gun with him, and they got their grapes and plums, and they gotten about 2 miles home. They hit a rough place. Instead of him pointing his gun down, he let it point it up. And that girl, 12-year-old girl, was singing a song, "My Jesus, I love thee." And her last word, that gun went off, shot her through the heart. So he was the first one to need it. So she was the first to bury it.
Tell me about wheat harvest.
How?
Tell me about wheat harvest.
Wheat harvest?
Yeah.
Well, I did my first work in the wheat field in 1904. No, 1903. A neighbor had quite a bit of wheat, and he had an old binder he'd brought over from Texas. He had to have a lead team. There's 5 heads, 3 at the back and 2 in front. And he wanted me to drive that lead team and keep the others going too. So I did. And on that same quarter, my son and his son owned 80 acres of it. That's where I first done my wheat harvest.
How many men on a harvest crew?
How
many men on a harvest crew?
Oh, I don't know. It took about 6 or 8 bundle haulers. I did my first bundle hauling before I was 15. Grandfather Glenn and his grandma came up to see my mother, and he just said, "Where's Joe?" And I said, "Well, he's working hauling bundles." And he said, "Where is that tractor?" I said, "It's a mile south." "Will you take me down there?" And I said, "Yeah." Took him down there, and my dad saw him come out the buggy, and they talked a while, and finally Dad said, "Well," said I better get back to work." Grandpa said, "What about Charlie?" And Dad said, "He never hauled in a bundle." "Well, can't he learn?" "No," he said, "I'd like for you to go home with us and leave Charlie here run your wagon for you." And I said, "Can you do it?" Dad said. No. I said, "Yeah, if I can't, I can quit." So he went and talked to the man, boss of the machine. "Why, yeah," he said, "I'll make a bundle hauler out of him and put him on your wagon. You go on home and stay there." So first load I brought in, I was fighting it, and I was standing on a bundle, and he was watching me. Crawled up on and said, "Charlie, let me have your fork." He took his fork. He said, "You was in a hurry, wasn't you?" I said, "What is your hurry?" "Well," I said, "I thought I had to put the bundles in there." "Well, no," he said, "let me show you something." He said, "You've got all day to unload this load if it takes that long. It'd take your time." And he said, "Pick up a bundle," and he said, "Lay it in straight, head first. Take time for that. Don't cross them. And he's throwing about a dozen bottles, and he said, "Have you got it?" "Well, yeah, I believe I have." "Okay," he said, "let's see." So he stood there and watched me throw in several bottles. You good hand or you're dead. So I hauled one the rest of the summer. Come on in. Come in.
Where's, I'll go back door.
Who had the thrashing machine?
Huh?
Who had the thrasher?
Jim Purcell.
Jim Purcell.
He had the first one in the county.
When you were a small boy, what mischief did you get into?
What?
When you were a boy, what mischief?
Oh, I tried to stay out of it. I wouldn't do anything as mean. I draw the line there. Oh, nobody know it. Yeah, I'd know it.
When did you see your first automobile?
When I first saw it, was in 1912, I believe. No, well, I'd seen a bus over at Comanche in 1904. I was walking along there, just running around over the fairgrounds there. Driver, "Get on, boy, it won't cost you a nickel." There's your old chain driver, and they're making a lot of noise. And I said, "Oh, I'll just walk, I'm in a hurry."
What'd you think of that?
Huh?
What'd you think of that bus when you first saw it?
I didn't want to ride. Making too much noise. Was that Betsy?
Yeah.
Oh, why didn't you come on in?
She's going to work.
Huh?
She had to go to work.
Oh.
The flu epidemic.
Huh?
The flu epidemic, 1918.
Oh,
How bad was that?
it was pretty bad here. We didn't have it in 18. I don't know, we skipped it somewhere or other. We had 2 children. But in 20, I had it no more, I had it bad.
Did you go to the Army?
No,
No?
I missed that.
Okay.
I was examining and billed out for examination, and so in the meantime, they told me to wind up my business and get ready. And in the meantime, while they passed the law to leave behind a farmer if he is making food, wheat and corn and stuff. And I was feeding a lot of hogs. So I got out of it that way. Yeah, the flu was awful bad here. People just died like flies. A friend of mine, he's a German. He took it and come on in.
Water? You want a drink of water?
Joe Todd.
No, I
Talk
don't.
to
You don't want a drink?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
How's it
I
going?
would take a little.
Going good.
Good.
Have
Well,
about an
like-
hour and
A water?
Yeah.
Or Coke?
20 minutes now.
No ice, just water.
Getting,
Just water.
Giving us a lot of good information.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Charlotte, is he remembering a lot of the family stories?
Would you like to drink water?
No, I'm fine, thank you. Remember any medicines they used for the flu? Remember any medicine they used
Oh,
for the flu?
what I was trying to tell you, he took this flu and he couldn't get a doctor. man named Dr. Mitchell. He said, I'll get to you just as soon as I can. He said, Doc, I can't wait that long. And he had a quart of whiskey. 2 days, Mitchell called him up and said, I can come see you now. I said, I don't need you. Well, I said, I'm coming. Are you all right? I said, I'm coming out to see you anyhow. And, well, come on out, he said. He said, when you talked to me, you thought you were dying with the flu, didn't you? Yeah. I said, well, you look all right now. Yeah, he said, thanks to a quart of whiskey I had, I killed the flu with that quart of whiskey. He said, you mean tell me that at all? He said, that's everything I had. And he said, I know it done it. Well, yeah, he said that'll do that, but he said I couldn't tell you.
What time of year did you butcher hogs? What time of year?
Nowadays, you can butcher any time. But then you had to wait a cold weather and cure the meat with salt. And so I learned to use sugar and salt and something else. I forgot now what. And that made better meat. That way I had pretty good bacon. But before that, why, it's just dry salt. And if you didn't boil in water, it's terrible. You boil in water and then fry it, and it's pretty good.
Tell me about butchering a hog. How do you do it?
Well, you first take a .22 rifle and shoot him between the eyes, and then stick a knife and cut his jugular vein, the same way with cow, beef. And you have hot water to scrape the hair off the hog. That beef, just skin them. But this butcher I was telling you about with the flu, he taught me how to skin a hog. You know, I don't know how to skin a hog just like it was meat.
What was your smokehouse made of? You have a smokehouse on the farm?
No, I never had one. I built me a little outfit that was string wire and keep flies out.
How long?
You just had to cure this meat, and then it stayed.
How long did it take to cure the meat?
Well, several weeks. I mean, you once get it cured, well, nothing bothered it. And that's how people live down there.
Oh, were there many saloons here in Frederick? Were there many saloons here in Frederick?
One time I think it's 6.
6. What'd they do with the beer and whiskey at Statehood?
That's all.
What'd they do with the beer and whiskey at Statehood, 1907?
Well, they just drained it out of a bottle. They had bottles too, you know. But they had barrels, and I don't know. I think it filled drugs out of these barrels.
You know, at Statehood they had prohibition. In 1907 they had prohibition.
Yeah.
They couldn't have any more whiskey.
No.
So what'd they do with it?
Well, see, that was in 18. Voted it out.
Yeah.
Well, when they voted it out at 18, well, some of them went to wash tubs and they had Dracitis. I know several around here had tried to drink stuff made now in a tub, and usually most of them, I don't know why, was in the left leg. cripple them for life.
Is that what they call Jake leg?
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of bootleggers around.
Who was the biggest bootlegger?
Huh?
Who was the biggest bootlegger?
I don't remember much about that. They'd make it out and out on the river and have sheriff telling me, he's a friend of mine, he told me about one old man out on the river that he knew he was making it. So he went out there one night and slates crept up to the barn and watched the old man stirring his smash. And he'd stir and stir, and then he'd go to another barrel and stir and stir. And he had to let him stir 3 or 4 barrels, and I walked in and I said, well, you got it right. The old man turned around and looked at him and said, Bill, how did you know? Bill said, well, Little Bird told me. Well, he said, what do you want me to do? I know you want me to go to jail, yeah. I'll have to take you in. Well, he said, let me finish it. No, he said, you got the empty every barrel you got it. Bill, he said, that'll run it. Bill said, well, you got any hogs? Yeah, you got some hogs. Well, he said, dump it out there where they can get it. He said, you're going to empty every barrel. Yes, several barrels. He said, the old man said, can't you help me? No, he said, I can't help you. He'll have to do it himself. So they tried him and found him guilty. Yeah, he said, I was making it. Don't deny it. And, but they didn't do much with him. He's getting pretty old. They just told him not to make any more, and he said, oh, I'll do. I said, I won't make them any more. He said, I wasn't making any money farming. He said, I just had to do something.
Oh. How'd you celebrate Christmas in the early days? How'd you celebrate Christmas in the early days?
Oh, well, had Christmas trees and I got to growing these young ones and on the ship, shipping them in. There'd be one big tree in the church or school. And so then they got shipping them trees for home. And the first one I bought was a table. That's all they had then, and a little folding up outfit, but it's a perfect tree. And I found it the last one I had, and I got it. A friend of mine come on and said, where in the world did you get that? And I told her. She said, well, I want to see if I said, well, thank you. She said, this is the last one.
What toys did you get?
Oh.
What toys did you get for Christmas? What toys did you get for Christmas?
Well, they had little cars. Oh, some of them about that long, and all kinds of tricky toys and junk, a lot of junk.
When you were in school, what games did you play?
Well, I didn't quite make it through the 8th grade. I had to stop and go to Fort Worth. Dad needed me on the farm. I was going to school out, teacher had hired a new teacher in the neighborhood for the next year. So he told I was ready for the 9th grade, and he told Dad that if they'd send me away, he'd teach me it. So, you know, I had a little trouble, and I never went to school after that.
When you were in school, what games did you play?
Oh, we usually had a little baseball, and then along in about 1908, I think it was, they introduced football here. They had basketball, I think, the year before, if I remember right. And then they formed a regular team, man. I have that ever since.
When did they pave the streets in Frederick?
Huh?
When did they pave the streets in Frederick?
Hey.
Yeah, well, when did they pave the streets?
Oh. Well, I think it was after World War One.
Did they use brick?
You know, the last, I remember we're living in town then. I was helping Raymond unload the farm machinery. And he had a little office, pigeonhole office down there where, you know, where a draw goes through there. And so it started raining, and he said, well, boy, said, we'll have to quit. Said, we can't work in this rain. So we got down in front of his office, said, come in, I'll pay you. I weighed water about that deep getting it off. I got my money, and I had to wade out. And that street, that main street down there was full. When we got off the wagon, the water was above the hub of the wheel. And talk about getting wet, well, I got it.
Would you describe the mud in the streets when it rained?
Do what?
The mud in the streets. How muddy were the streets?
Oh, just as muddy mud could get. Wheels or wagon wheels cut down about that deep. So after that's why they began to talk paving.
Well, then that was all together, so I'm not sure.
If I can find it, I'll show you the house I was born.
What year were you married?
October 4th, 1914.
1914.
His birthday is August 17th.
It's like 6 months been married, 74 years. My wife passed away.
Okay. Charlie, thank you.